Yeah, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's class. This is the fifth series of Farm to Export, and it's actually designed to help farmers structure out how they farm their crops and how they process their harvest for export. So it just helps farmers to add the required or the necessary structure for exporting their produce, their crops or livestock from their farm to other countries of the world. And this could be directly to Nigerians in the diaspora or just client companies in other areas of the world. So today, being the fifth series, we are going to be focusing on South-South export opportunities in Nigeria. And after the class, as usual, you can get the videos, you can watch everything on our YouTube channel. And I'm also using this opportunity to plead with us to subscribe to the YouTube channel so that whenever there is a new class or a new program that is being uploaded, you can get um, update, you can get notification as to that. So today we are discussing South-South. So in South-South Nigeria, we have some states, including Akwa Ibom, we have Bayelsa State, we have Cross River State, we have Delta State, we have Edo State, and we have River State. And the Cross River State, its capital is Calabar, and while the River State, the capital is Port Harcourt. So we are going to be looking at the exportable crops, the produce, the livestock that we can actually get from this region or from this area in Nigeria. So most of the highlighted crops that I'm going to be looking at or mentioning are practically harvests or crops that are already being harvested in that region that could actually be exported. So that doesn't mean as farmers you can't explore to do something new or to innovate like in newer crops or new produce in that area. So just like we discussed last week when we were considering Southwest export opportunities. So ports, that is seaports in South-South, includes Calabar Port on a port. We have ports of Harcourt, which is River State, which is in River State, Port Harcourt, and Port of Warri. So though most of these ports in the South-South are not fully functional right now, but they serve different purposes. Some of the ports major in crude oil. For some, it majors in other minerals like coal, like other energy products that are being mined in that area. But for our class, because we are focusing on just farmers alone, so we'll be discussing more on agricultural produce and livestock. So those are the two categories of exportable commodities that we are focusing on for this series. So agricultural exports are mostly brought to Lagos, even from South-South. People living in Edo State, for instance, because Edo State is relatively close to Southwest, to it shares a boundary with Ondo State. So because of that, people there still push their items, cargo, consignment, whatever they are exporting through the Lagos ports, both the seaport and the airport. So Port Harcourt International Airport is fully functioning. It's like the only, or let me say the most popular international airport in South-South region of the country. And for farmers, as farmers rather, because what we are exporting sometimes might not be a very large amount of commodity like we do in containers, big containers, the 40-feet containers or the 20-feet containers. This could just be something that maybe is just 1 kilogram, 5 kilogram, 2 kilogram, 10 kilogram, less than a ton or up to a ton, and we want to ship it through airlines. We want to ship it through the airports, so as to make the delivery faster. So both the airports and the seaports is what we consider as part of the opportunities in different regions. And then this focus also helps you as a farmer, as someone intending to do business from south to actually assess the distance, what's available in your environment and what's obtainable. And if you have to push your goods from your state down to Lagos, or you have to search for an agent or an office that is close to you. So in this class, I've been able to highlight or list some operational partners that is going to help you with a lot of things from the south region, so that even if you are living in Port Harcourt, if you are living in Calabar, Delta, Bayelsa, Akwa Ibom, you don't still have to come to Lagos to push your your item or your cargo or your consignment through Lagos. You can do it even from the south region of the country. So for those living in Port Harcourt or very close to Port Harcourt, you can use the international airport in Port Harcourt, since it's also a busy airport. So you can use that to push your product. So it's not until you push it down to Murtala Mohammed Airport in Lagos. So you can do that even from that area, from that region too. So so if you are a farmer located in any of the south states, there's a high probability that you have to structure your business via the Lagos route. If you are exporting, let's say, something that is above 2 tons, and you have to use sea freight, it could be anything. It could be your rice, it could be your beans, it could be your maybe something you've already processed from your cassava or from your plantain, and all that, and you have to ship it through the sea route. So you might have to use Lagos, because seaports around the south region are not so fully functional like it is in Lagos. And then there are some documentations and certifications that you have to do, that the operational partners you need, the people you need to work with you, they are just around you in Lagos. So that's just like an advantage you have in Lagos. You can do your certification just from one block to another block at the port. So you just have to go outside the port to make some happen, to some few registration, then you are back at the port again. So you might not be able to see all these offices, all these people in one place, in Port Harcourt or in Delta or in Akwa Ibom. So that might not be the case over there. But one advantage that you have if you are using the air freight is that NACO has an office in about 2 or 3 offices in south. So they have office in Enugu is in southeast. They have office in Port Harcourt, in Uyo. They have office in Owerri. So you can just look at your map that, okay, which one is actually very close to you. So you can use the NACO office that is near you and just drop your item with them. So once you get there, you can talk to their agent, you can talk to their staff. You can go there with anything that you want to ship or that you want to send. So NACO and SACO only has an office in Port Harcourt. They don't have any other office in South apart from the one at the airport in Port Harcourt. For NACO, they have an office in Port Harcourt, in Uyo, in Owerri and Enugu. The reason why I added the Enugu and Owerri is that you could have some people that, even though they are in South, but those places are still like very close to where they are. So NACO and SACO, they are direct, they work directly with the airlines, with the cargo planes, that will load whatever you are shipping out. So there is no better company to work with than with NACO and SACO. So, but there are also other logistics companies who work with NACO and SACO. So you can have them around you also. You can have to drop your items or your goods with them. They will bring it to either NACO or SACO office, who will now in turn load it on the necessary cargo plane. So, but just working with the local logistics companies can increase the price that you're actually paying. So let's say if you want to ship 5 kilogram worth of products or items with NACO, maybe they are charging you 2,000 naira or 1,500 naira per kilogram, depending on the distance of where, or let me say the distance of the port where your client is located, the person that you are sending the item to, where the person is located. So you can just pay that to either NACO or SACO. But when you are working with a domestic logistics company, I said domestic, a local logistics company that will work with either NACO or SACO, they might charge you more. So they might give you a double rate, maybe 3,000 naira per kilogram. So they will be the one to take it to their office, do your processing and all that with their agent over there. Then in Lagos, because very soon we are going to there's going to be a new port in Lagos called Lekki Deep Sea Port. So this port, these 3 ports that we are going to be having in Lagos, or that we already have in Lagos, are going to be the busiest. So even when you want to do anything that has to do with sea freight, that you have to use your containerized exports, you might have to send it down to Lagos. You might have to send it down to Lagos from Bayelsa or Cross River or wherever you are in the south region. So so that's just an advantage that Lagos gives you. So like I explained in the last class when we were focusing on Southwest, focusing on this region just helps you to relatively assess and compare how and what you have in your state, and how the Lagos state can actually help you with your business, so that by the time you are looking at the two, you can know maybe you have to search for partners around you, or you have to search for partners in Lagos that will help you with your output or with your product, with what you have processed at your farm or factory. So we'll be looking at Akwa Ibom as the first state in South. In Akwa Ibom, we have palm oil. So these are crops that already have an established presence in the state. So it's not like maybe you just want to start planting it, or maybe they are planning to start producing this kind of crop. So they're already they have an established presence, and they are crops that you can actually process for exporting. So and another thing is, these crops are also crops that I've exported myself. So Listing them for this slide, for this presentation, is something that I already have an experience with, and not like maybe I just picked them from somewhere and listed it. So you can export palm oil. Palm oil processing is not that expensive. Even as a merchant, if you are not a farmer, if you don't have a farm with oil palm trees and all that, and you are not doing the harvest yourself, even as a merchant, all you just have to do is get a very good quality uh, low cholesterol palm oil, and give it a very good packaging. Label it if you have to, label it with all the chemical content, expiry date, manufacturing date, and all that things that gives your product a quality outlook, and you can export it to your clients in large quantity and in small quantity, depending on where it's going to. So for those of us that maybe this is our first time in actually joining farm to export, we will need to our advice that we should try as much as possible to go back to the first class, because we've discussed a lot of things from class 1 to class 4, and this is just the 5th class. So vegetables is also part of it. Cocoyam is also part of it. And under livestock and meat, there's fish and there's shrimps that you can export from Akwa Ibom. So you can start a fish farm in Akwa Ibom, for instance, get yourself an oven. So it's not necessarily a very huge or large oven. You just need a medium oven that can, do a very good work, and you can use to dry your fish, give it a very good processing outlook, so that by the time you package it and all that, it doesn't get spoiled. Like, it can stay up maybe to 8 months, before anything happens to it. So, and you have an exportable product that way. And these products, especially states in South like Akwa Ibom, like Bayelsa, like Cross River, there are special delicacies that we have in these states, special food, special soup, that are made from different kind of varieties of vegetables and crops that are not really even common in the northern part of the country, or in the southern or in the southwestern part of the country. And due to the increase of Nigerians everywhere across the world, in Africa, in Asia, in EU, in Europe, in United States, Canada, Australia, and all that, the presence of South people also is increasing, and they are demanding, for this food. So this is one thing that you have to put in your mind. So you could just, so maybe what you are looking at, like we discussed in previous classes, like let's say spices, for instance, you can narrow or streamline your spices products into unique spices from South, like from Akwa Ibom, that serves just Akwa Ibom people in the diaspora, in the United States, in the United Kingdom, and maybe in other places too, so that they can use to make their special delicacies wherever they are. So these are some of the things that you need to put your thoughts, you need to wrap your thoughts around, before actually going into maybe whatever farm or whatever thing you want to start planting in your backyard, or that portion of land in front of you, that you can use. And even if you don't have that and you say, oh, I just want to jump into processing, you still need to plan this out, because it will help you in the long run. Then the second state we'll be looking at is Bayelsa State. So for Bayelsa State, there's oil palm, there's rubber, there's cocoa, there's rice, there's plantain, there's cocoyam, there's banana, and there's coconut. The coconut is, you can export coconut as it is, you can export the back, You can turn the bark into charcoal. You can export the what's it called now? The processed chips. You can turn it into chips, export the processed chips. There's actually no part of the coconut that is wasted, that is wasted. So you can use all that. Then for banana and plantain, you can process them into flour, you can process them into chips. And of recent, the stem are now being processed into something that is weavable, like a material that can be weaved, that can be used for clothing, for as carpets, as rugs, things like that. So these are things that we need innovative eyes, to look into and see how you can actually get products that you can export from it. Our cocoa, rubber, oil palm, these are just part of the exportable crops that we have around us that are easily exportable. So from Bayelsa, for instance, if you are living in Bayelsa and you are looking at it that maybe it's just crude oil or it's just the oil around you, those are the only things that are working. There are several agricultural products that you can look at, that you can look into and start producing on a small scale. And from there, you can scale. So once you have your first client who is satisfied with the products that you are sending to him or her, from there you can just start growing. You can just start growing. You grow into 2 clients, into 3 clients, into 4 clients, into 5 clients. And before you know it, you have a consistent order that is coming just to you for maybe that's vegetable or maybe that's a particular fish, that everyone is now sees as an expert in it. So just like one of my students, I mentioned, I spoke about her last week when we were talking about Southwestern states and the export opportunities in Southwest. So I said she always exports pomo every week. And she exports that pomo now just to, I think, to Yoruba people that are in diaspora because they eat pomo a lot. This week, she needed to get a factory. She needed to go to a factory where they actually produce this cow skin. Pomo is also the same as cow skin, dried cow skin. And it was a very huge, large place. But she needed to do that because now her client base for that one particular product is so much that the amount of kilogram that she has to export every week keeps increasing. That now she's doing up to 200 kilogram on just that one product alone every week. So you can look at, you can use that to look at your own produce or your own crops. So you just need to increase based on that one crop that you have or that one product that you've been able to, specially create uniquely, for yourself or for some set of people, and the order will just be increasing on there. It doesn't mean you won't be exporting other crops, other products, but you have one that people really know you for, or people really recognize you for, and always calling you, referring you to other people. Then we have Cross River. Cross River has grains, animal feed, palm oil, rubber, cocoa, yam, rice, vegetables, plantains. When it comes to these vegetables, like we discussed last week, in vegetables, there are lots of things in vegetables. It could be leafy vegetables, it could be pepper, it could be some sort of spices, it could be bitter leaf, it could be, so there are several things that, and that was, and that's even more the reason why I said you can actually start exporting from your backyard farm or your garden, just that small garden on your backyard. Because if you plant just, I used bitter leaf as an example. So if you plant just bitter leaf in your backyard. It could produce, by the time you squeeze out the juice, the bitter juice and all that, and you dry it, you can do that every day of the week, and you can, by the end of the week, you can have something like maybe 100 kilogram worth of dried leaves. You can do this for to produce dried ugu leaves also. You can do this to produce utazi leaf also. So different kind of leafy vegetables that that we eat around here that you can't actually get the fresh. They can't actually get something like that over there. And if you are to export the vegetables fresh, we also discussed it when we say you just have to you have to align with the freight agent, maybe at NACO or at SACO. Once you know that, okay, these vegetables can go with NACO, you just have to align to make sure that, okay, you are taking the vegetables to NACO, to your agent today. There is going to be a cargo plane landing today that they are going to be loading. So it's going to be express, so it's maybe there's a way you are going to pack it so that there's enough air so that it doesn't spoil. So it could be like in a basket, that kind of thing. Then it's loaded and it's sent. So within 48 hours, so it won't have started to rot by then, by the time it gets to where you're actually sending it. So because there are several leaves that are sent like that, out of the country, and the clients actually get them, So, and we also spoke about frozen food, like frozen snail, actually, like frozen snail, fresh and dried. So, and don't forget that one of the things we also discussed is if you are shipping anything dried, it mustn't be smoked. It must not be smoked because the smoke, if it is smoky, it's going to be rejected because it could cause cancer. So it has to be oven dried or sun dried. But because of the rain and everything, you can just make use of your oven. Make use of your oven. Okay, so the next is Delta. Yes, the next is Delta. So in Delta, there's cassava. Cassava can be processed. From cassava, you can get cassava chips. It can be processed into cassava chips. So processing into cassava chips could be, if you are going to do it well, if it's large scale, it has to first be heated in water after it has been sliced, then before it goes into the dryer. Before it goes into the dryer and comes out as a chip. But if it is a small scale, you might just actually slice and dry just like that. But the value, there's going to be a value difference because cassava chips sometimes can be very expensive when you are exporting it to clients, especially Asian clients who buy it, a lot of it. So it's used for drugs. It's used for jam also. It's used for sugary content and as a thickening agent also. Then there's yam, there's maize, there's cocoyam, and there's timber. So these are some of the items that you can get from Delta State. So as a farmer, you can do this like just yourself alone, and you can bring maybe 2 or 3 people together to work on it. And let's say maybe you're a member of a cooperative somewhere and that kind of thing, you can introduce it to your cooperative so that 5-10 people can come together and produce and supply, that kind of thing. Then there are several foodstuff exporters now in the country than like 5 years ago when we started, like, organizing foodstuff exports master classes and all that. So these foodstuff exporters, as farmers that are into the production of what they are exporting, they could be your first point of supply. So they could be your first point of supply because it also increases your revenue base and the overall profits that you make in your business at the end of the day. So now, because of the migration that has been happening, from Nigeria to other countries, how everyone has been traveling out of the country, so also the people who are exporting, like the students who we have taught, who have been in the business for some time now, they are experiencing increase in demand for the food that they are exporting to Nigerians out there, to Africans out there. So when you look at it also, the people who are doing that business, they are also increasing. So the market is becoming bigger now. If you look at last year, yes, I think last year, between last year and this year, there's almost 70% increase in the student visa, that UK released awarded students from Nigeria, just UK alone. We've not actually considered Canada. We've not considered the US, not considered Australia, and other countries. So when you look at it, it's a lot. So there are over maybe like 500,000 Nigerians that have traveled, or by the end of this 2022, by the time we get to January 2023, we'll have a complete figure of the total number of Nigerians that left for either US, UK, or Canada. So, but they can, as at right now, just the student visa alone, as at June of 2022, is over 65,000 students visa that have been issued from one country to Nigerian students. So when you look at it, the numbers, you see that the market is expanding. So the people, or the active number of people also that will be in that market, they are increasing. So as farmers, the foodstuff exporters, the mini exporters that you have around would be your first point of call. Also, they can help you to market, to expand your brand, to expand your product to Nigerians and other Africans in the diaspora. So that's something you need to leverage on also. So for Edo State, we have shea nuts, we have grains, we have cassava, we have palm oil, we have timber, we have yam, and there's cattle, there's goats, and there's poultry. So Edo State is not so far from Lagos. So since there's, I think there's a domestic airport in Edo State, but if you are looking, towards using an international airport, so that everything you want to do will be faster, so you can just structure something out with a logistics company, so that whenever you have an order, you just drop it to them and they move it to Lagos on your behalf. They'll just move it to your agent's office at the airport. So maybe once they get to the airport, there will be an arrangement and they'll just pick it up. So those ones will just help you to make sure that it gets on the cargo plane. So like we discussed in previous classes, setting up that structure is just what's important. So that even if you have to send something from Abuja, even if you have to send something from Niger State, from Delta State, from Kogi State, from wherever you are in the country, once you have that structure set up, once you have it set, whenever you have an order, it just gets delivered automatically on your behalf. So all you just have to do is just process, package, make sure that the weight, everything is what is requested for, and you do your shipment successfully. So it's not really as complex as it looks sometimes. So for River State, we have palm oil in rivers because of the water, the amount of water in River State. So we can also get algae there, but palm oil, yam, rice, beans, plantain, bananas, cassava, oil palm, coconut, and rubber. So these are agricultural products or produce that we get there. Then for livestock, we get cattle, there's goats, and there are several poultries also in River State. So rivers, you don't really have to go out of the state except if you are using sea freight and you have to move it through Lagos because of documentation and other things. And you can still move it from River State and your documentation will be done in Lagos State. So it's not, it doesn't mean that just because you need documentation and certification from Lagos State, then your container must come through Apapa or your container must come through Tinkan Island Port. So what you can do is you can still use the port of Harcourt. If you're using the port of Harcourt, you know, the downside of using other ports in Nigeria, not like they are not working, but the downside is that you want to look at the traffic. You want to look at maybe when is the next Maersk Line ship going to berth so that you know when they are going to load your container. So when is Hapag-Lloyd coming to Port of Harcourt? When is Maersk coming? When is MSC going to come to that port? When is CMA, CGM? So if the time, if it's not too far from you, if it's okay, with you and your clients, you still use the port. So once your container gets into the port and all that, all you just have to do is, call up the necessary offices and organizations here in Lagos or just hire an agent and the person will just do all your documentations and certifications for you. But your container will still go through that state. So your agent will just, put all the documents in an envelope, DHL it to you, then you have all the documents that you are supposed to have and you can still use your port. But, some people just prefer to use Lagos because Lagos has a high traffic. So within 2 weeks or within a week, your container is already on a ship. So, but when you're using other ports, because the traffic is not that high, it could take a month, it could take 2 months before your container is loaded on a ship. So those are just the downside of using other seaports. But if you are using an international airline or airport for your cargoes and all that, Rivers State is okay. So you don't have to do anything outside that state. So please, in case it logs us out, please just use the same link to come back into the class. And so exportable crops or products to consider. That is what you can process from everything that we've discussed so far, from the crops that you can plant in other South states, what are the things that you can process